So last year for Christmas, I got this LEGO Millennium Falcon set, but then I was informed it actually wasn't LEGO. It was actually an off-brand LEGO set from China.
You want to buy from China? That's great. Buy from China. Buy toys from China.
So I started building it, and I thought it was very interesting because it builds almost like LEGO, but it was a lot stiffer and a lot weirder to work with. Along with the figures in the set just not being right. This was supposed to be Rey, but this is the actual Rey minifigure. These are the figures you're supposed to be getting with the actual LEGO set, and here's the figures I got. They look similar enough to the actual characters, but there's just some things that are off. My curiosity piqued, and seeing the rise of LEGO set prices as of lately, I decided to buy multiple fake LEGO Star Wars sets to be able to truthfully and honestly answer the question, are fake LEGO sets actually worth it? First set I'm going to be reviewing is based off the LEGO Mos Eisley Cantina, which retailed for $400, on sale for $320. With the off-brand set I got costing around $80. Right away I noticed it didn't come with a box, which I like looking at the boxes before I build a set, but it wasn't a big issue to me because I don't collect the boxes. But if you collect the boxes, that's definitely one thing you're going to have to consider. But the bags were labeled, which was the main thing I was worried about. First thing we started off with was the Cantina bar with the Cantina bar member, and unfortunately some of the pieces weren't in the right labeled bags. I had to go on later on in the building process to find them, but when it was finished and done, I really liked the way it turned out. It was a fun thing to build. Along with this Trandoshan riding a speeder type vehicle, this was really fun to build and not too difficult. I mention this because some things in the set are a lot more difficult than others, such as this door, which I spent 2 days trying to get right. There's supposed to be some sort of sliding motion at the bottom that I didn't get right. I had to improvise. I think it looks good, but it was very difficult and it's very stiff. With Legos, you would not have this problem. Now that our set is finished, we are going to be reviewing it based on 3 different criteria. 1, how was it to build? 2, how did the build turn out once it was finished? And then number 3, we are going to be reviewing the individual figures. Now, how was it to build? I would give the experience a 6 out of 10. There were times where the bricks were really stiff to work with and you had to improvise, and that was not fun, but other times, certain parts of the set were a lot easier to work with. Now, my average experience with building with LEGO sets is usually a 7.5 on average, so it did diminish a little bit of the fun of building the set, but I did like the way it turned out, which is our second point. How does it look once it's finished? I would give it a 8 out of 10. I think it turned out quite well. I don't have the LEGO version to compare it to in contrast, but besides the little gaps here and there, I think it turned out really well. Lastly, we have the figures. They come in these little baggies. There's about 22 figures in total, if you include that strange looking reptile type thing that somebody rides. Now, some of the figures turned out really well. I love the way this Luke Skywalker turned out. But who is this? Because that's not Greedo. That's a Trandoshan. That's a Trandoshan. They just put some other green alien's head on this figure and they said that's good enough. That's Greedo. They tried photoshopping his head into the manual, but it doesn't even look right. That's not Greedo. They know that's not Greedo. They even know that because look, they even have in the manual the real Greedo. That's Greedo. This isn't Greedo. Luckily, I did have a different Rodian head I was able to put on his body, so it looks almost identical to the actual Greedo figure now. But there's one thing you're definitely going to want to consider with a set like this. Sometimes they're not even going to send you the right figure at all, or they'll send you a figure that looks sort of similar. This is an Obi-Wan figure from the set, and I actually have an actual LEGO version of it, and you can see the differences. They may be minute to some, but the LEGO version just looks a lot more authentic. The other one kind of looks like Santa to me. While some of these characters might have minor defects like R2-D2's eye being too small, most of these figures have a really good quality to them. I really like that this set includes figures that you normally wouldn't see, like the Cantina band members, you got the spy, you got the people in the bar fight. You got a really nice variety within this set, and most of the figures, besides being a little bit more stiff, are up to par with most LEGO figures. Honestly, the biggest disappointment in this set is just the fact that there's only 3 members of the Modal Nodes. Luckily, I had my main man Max Rebo there to step in. Now, the quality of the figures really isn't that bad. It's almost up to par with LEGO. Maybe a little bit stiffer, but you really wouldn't notice much of a difference. The problem with a set like this, though, is sometimes the figures just have the wrong heads. They'll have the wrong hands, maybe even the wrong accessories. They might look slightly off to the LEGO version, which really perfects the characters. If you are somebody who strives for perfection, I would likely recommend the LEGO version so you can get the authentic characters, an actual Greedo head, and everything alike. But if you don't mind slight imperfections, it really is almost up to par with LEGO figures. The next set we're going to be reviewing is based off the Clone Scout Walker 20th Anniversary Edition. LEGO doesn't sell this one anymore, but on Amazon, their official page, they are selling this set for $131. The off-brand version we got cost $10.
Command post is now under hostile control.
These are most of the pieces to the set, only about 250 in total, so nowhere near as big as the last one was, and honestly, a lot easier to build with. Some sets, I mean, they're made by different people, so the quality will always vary. Unfortunately, you're not going to get quality control like you will with LEGO, but this was a lot less stiff, just really easy to work with. If you would have just gave me the set and told me to build it, I would have no idea it wasn't LEGO. It comes with a walker to the set, which looked really nice. I really enjoyed the design to it. Pretty simple, but really good to work with. Now, the set comes with 4 figures. Number 1 is Darth Vader, which was actually a really good quality figure. I was really happy with it. Next is a battle droid, pretty basic, but can't complain. Third was a Wookiee, looks a little off, but again, try not to complain, looks decent. And lastly was a Scout Trooper. He only came with 1 skin-colored hand, which was kind of annoying, but besides that, still a really good figure, besides the missing hand. Lastly, but certainly not least, the DS-D1 Spider Droid, which I really think puts the whole playset all together. Overall, there's really not much to complain about with this set. It turned out really well. The building was an 8 out of 10 experience. The way the build turned out was a 9 out of 10. And the figures, I would give a solid 8 out of 10. For this set, I would honestly recommend it just for the fact that they don't even make this set anymore. That's one thing that's nice about off-brand LEGOs, where you can actually find sets that you aren't even able to get otherwise. Lastly, we have the Clone Turbo Tanker, which was a LEGO set which retailed when it came out for around $110 and now is selling for on Amazon for around $600. I got the set for around $30. Right away, I noticed a problem. Some of the pieces were missing. Not that I just couldn't find them later on in the building process, they just weren't there. Like this little walker right here needed another leg joint. It just wasn't in the set. So look at him now. This is him, and this is the guy she tells you not to worry about. This is a problem. Here we are, halfway done with the Clone Turbo Tanker, and there are more pieces missing. I can't find them. They are not in the set. I have to jerry-rig this thing just to make it work. Now that our set is complete, let's go over how was the building process. I would give it a 4 out of 10. There were legitimately 30 plus pieces missing from this set. 30 plus, and they were not just like random decoration pieces on the outside, they were important pieces too. They just weren't in the set. So I really had to force pieces together just to be able to build what I built here. Now to rate how the build turned out, I would give it a solid 6 out of 10. The big problem is there's just really important pieces missing that really would have put the set together. Like the wheels, for example. All the little pieces that make the wheels go around fluidly just aren't there, so I had to force them in, so they're very stiff and they just don't work right because of it. Now, am I upset I got the set? No, I'm not gonna be moving around much. It's mostly gonna be on display, and I think it will work well for display purposes. But the fact that it wasn't very fun to build and there was pieces missing, and that you may not be the type of person who wants to even jerry-rig something, that is something you're very much going to want to consider. With a Lego set, I've never experienced not having the right pieces in it, and that is a huge plus. The quality control with Lego is as best as it's ever going to get with sets like this. Lastly, we have the figures that come in these little bags again, which I like, and honestly, the quality of the figures really saved the set a lot. They are a solid 8 out of 10, almost no flaws besides the fact they're a little more stiffer than Legos, but I really like the characters in this set. Now that we have all our sets built, I'm going to be giving out my final scores. Building experience, 6 out of 10. The way the builds turned out once they were finished, 7.5. And for the figures, I will be giving a solid 8. Now let's go over all the pros and cons. First, with the building experience. Some of the bricks were just way too stiff to work with. Sometimes there are gaps in the set because the pieces just want to kind of pop out for some reason, which can be kind of frustrating. Sometimes when you open bag number 3, like the set instruction says, the piece you need is actually in bag number 4. Or sometimes you don't even have the right pieces at all. They just don't give them to you. Now to the pros. Sometimes you get random extra accessories you're just not expecting. When I opened the eisley cantina set, it came with over 100 extra Lego blasters in these little things where you break them off. I've never seen anything like it, and there were so many of them. Gold blasters, silver ones, the regular black ones, and a Lego cross, which has to be a plus to somebody. It's a plus to me. Now to how the sets turned out once they were finished. I don't think an off-brand Lego set can ever compete with an actual Lego set. Here is one, for example, where it's just so perfectly put together. All the pieces just fit right. They're easy to take on, easy to take off. And it's just a completely different experience when you're working with Lego compared to working with off-brand Lego bricks, which is just a lot stiffer, and sometimes you will have loose parts when you're finished with the set that just pop out eventually. But you're not buying an off-brand Lego set, I think, because you're trying to get the exact quality of Lego. Because, for example, this set was $80, and if you wanted to get this set brand new when it came out, it was $400. That is 5 times as much. So you have to ask yourself, are you going to be getting 5 times the amount of the enjoyment or value from the Lego version compared to a version that has slight aversions to it or some characters that are not complete? Now, the biggest pro I haven't mentioned yet is the very fact that some of these sets I got, Lego doesn't even make anymore. So the only way to get these sets is to either pay an extremely high price on the resale market, or you might not even be able to find it all there. There would be no way to be able to get the set. Now, when the turbo tanker came out, it was around $100. I paid around $30 for mine. So would I get 3 times the enjoyment or value from the actual $100 set? I likely would, just for the very fact that the wheels wouldn't just fall off constantly. But now that Lego discontinued the set, it costs around $600. That means I would have to get 20 times the value or enjoyment from the set to be able to get my money's worth compared to the one that I got for $30. Now let's switch to the figures. The figures are solid 8 out of 10 like I mentioned before. I ordered some off-brand ones online to be able to compare them to the actual Lego figures I have. And these ones are really nice, especially for army building. Got like a squad of clones. I was able to get together a couple of different commandos. One of the cons you'll definitely notice is sometimes the hands don't go in all the way, so they'll be slightly obstrued out, which is annoying, but it's not a big deal. And sometimes you'll order a Darth Vader figure and it just looks completely different than other ones. These both look decent. I like both of them. I like the one to the left more, but you only order a Darth Vader figure, you don't know exactly what you're gonna get. But you can also get figures you just normally wouldn't find. For years and years as a kid, my favorite Lego figure was this Lego Jango Fett. I wanted this figure more than anything, and now I was able to get it. 90% of the figures I got, I would say, met my quality control, while others have the wrong face completely, just don't look right, or they'll just give them the wrong arms. Look at Watto. What did they do to Watto? Well, why does he have, why? Now with all our points laid out, we can finally answer the question, are fake Legos worth it? Honestly, most of the time, yes. A lot of the figures are great quality. Once the builds are done, they look pretty decent. And with the building experience, well, you really can't beat Lego in that regard. If that's the most important thing to you, the building, the flow of it, Lego is the only way to go. But if you want specific figures that you can't find otherwise, or sets that are discontinued, this is definitely the best option in my opinion.